Hello, fellow fantasy sports fans. Whoa, we had a false start there. Welcome to MFSN, the Hub's Fantasy Football Strategy Show. Thursdays at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. I'm Dr. Dan Ratner, and I'm here, as always, with Ross the Boss.
Hello, everybody. I'm Ross the Boss here, coming live from La, California, Lipstick City. We have a great Thursday night game, a lot of fantasy value. We have the LA Rams going up to Santa Clara, playing the 49ers. Desperate game for the 49ers and the Rams. Huge game for both teams. We're going to see a lot of scoring, a lot of fun stuff, and it's raining up there. So it's going to be a great game tonight. I'm excited to watch that.
Well, and I'm doubly excited because, as you know, Ross, in a lot of leagues, the playoffs have begun. Playoffs? Jim Morris, they're going to be quoting him in 100 years.
That was a classic press interview. He was doing a press conference, actually, and some reporter, just so people know the story, some reporter was saying a question about the playoffs, and the first thing out of his mouth was playoffs.
he did not feel his team was ready for the playoffs.
No.
And I still think that is the all-time classic press conference moment.
Loved it.
Absolutely hilarious. So with the playoffs coming up and this game, the implications of this game, let's do start sit from this game, because it's early in the week and people have to make some decisions. Let's say they have a lineup decision and they have to decide, are you going to start a guy in this game or not? So let's go through the various starters that you could be starting in this game and tell me who are you going to start from this game?
Well, I'll start on the San Francisco side. Purdy, I don't know who else you have at quarterback, but if I had a choice between, somebody texted me today and asked me between Purdy and Mahomes, and I said Purdy. I think he'll have a pretty good game tonight. At least 2 touchdowns and probably 280 yards. That's not bad. The Rams defense is lacking. They give up yards as evidence from last week against Buffalo. Their running game, they're down to their third string running back, which means they'll be passing the ball. I feel Kittle is a for sure start. I think he's going to have a big game. And maybe Deebo Samuel, after all the whining and crying during the week, maybe he'll get a touchdown this week. I have him scoring this week and maybe getting some rushing yards. So I know he's been nothing the past few weeks, but Deebo Samuel, what do you think? Do you think he'll be something relevant this week in fantasy football? Or do you think he'll just be nothing?
Well, I mean, this is precisely the question, because if you're looking at Deebo Samuel and you have some other options and they're kind of equal, then you gotta worry about matchups. You got to worry about am I going to play this guy? When I look at the Rams, for me, the decisions are easier. Puka, you start.
Go.
Kyren Williams, you start. Cooper Kupp, you start. Matthew Stafford, you're not starting in anything, maybe in a Superflex league, but otherwise you're not starting him. So those questions are easy for me. Deebo Samuel is the tougher one. Brock Purdy is an interesting one too. In a Superflex league, of course, you're starting him, but in a single quarterback league, it depends on who you got.
I'm worried about the rain. It's supposed to rain.
I don't like Thursday games either, especially for passing.
I just feel like it's always low scoring. I know the over-under is 49 tonight, and I know people are expecting some scoring. I'm kind of skeptical on it.
I am too.
I think Jennings will be the number one receiver for the 49ers. So if you have Jennings, you start him.
Mm-hmm.
The running game for San Francisco is very, very sketchy. I would stay away from all the running backs in San Francisco, but I think it's going to cause Purdy to throw. I mean, Purdy's going to just not throw. He'll be running too. He'll be running the ball like he's been doing all season. So it should be interesting.
So, I mean, I think Kittle you start because tight end is so thin. Of course you start.
Kittle's been great. I mean, he had a great game last week, and he's been terrific. So Kittle.
But he's the only clear 49er to start.
Jennings. I mean, Jennings been 10 to 12 targets a game the past 3-4 weeks. I mean, he's clearly the number one receiver.
Well, Jennings has been, I mean, he was great last week. He was great in week 11. But I think, listen, when it comes to playoffs, people can have lineup decisions. I could see sitting Jennings. I could also see playing him. What about Guerrero?
Yeah.
So
I would stay away. He'll may start, but one good hit, he's out of the game.
Right. That's exactly.
You got to stay away from it. That's a perfect example of a guy that's hurt, that wants to play because he's third string, and he's going to push himself. But I don't see him lasting the whole game. I don't wish an injury on anybody, as you know, but I just feel the Rams are going to be hitting hard and playing good defense, and they'll try.
Risky.
And that's a risky start. But
Yep.
again, it could pay off. I mean, Shanahan loves the running game. He loves making these running backs look good. So if you want to take the shot with the risk, it could pay out for you, but there's a good chance it won't. So there you go.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, Albert Marquin, good to see you. Thanks for saying good afternoon. Real Tommy V says Garendo is planning on playing, but then he says stay away from him. We agree with that, but here's the thing: it all depends on your options. You know, if you're not that deep, and Garendo is a better play than the other plays, then I think you go with him. Now, Real Tommy V says Debo will be the running back. Ross, what do you think about this?
He'll get 4 to 5 carries. I mean,
yeah, I don't think he's going to be the running back.
Last week he got none. I mean, they have a couple options. Patrick, I think Patrick Davis, is that his name? No, that's not him. It's some other guy that's the second string guy that they'll throw out there. But Debo's not going to be like out there getting the ball like 10 to 20 times. He'll get
no. I will say this, Ross.
4 or 5.
He got 5 carries last week, actually.
Yeah.
He had 0 the 2 weeks before that.
2 weeks ago, he had 0, 5 carries. So I think this week you could see him with 5. He's been whining the whole week. I mean, I don't know if you saw the press conference, but he's been blaming the quarterback. They're not throwing me the ball. He's been dropping the ball. I mean, he's been dropping passes. He's been not getting open. I mean, he's whining about not doing anything fantasy wise, but the reason why is he's not doing his job.
I've always wondered about this. Why is it always the wide receivers who are having this? It's just always the wide receivers. They cry more than anyone in any sport.
Yeah, but they feel it's true in NFL football. It's if you're the squeaky wheel and you're not getting the ball the next week.
I guess that's part of why is the wide receiver is dependent on the quarterback to get the ball, so that they might have to whine. So Real Time he does point out he's crying, but then he brings up another player, Patrick Taylor Jr.
Yep, that's it. Yeah.
So what are you thinking about him?
Journeyman, average, below average running back in the NFL, 4th string.
So definitely not starting here. I mean,
Shanahan,
that's even more risky than Garendo, obviously.
Well, Patrick Taylor's not going to play much unless
right.
The other guy gets hurt. So
I think Patrick Taylor's a
quarter running back.
Yeah, Patrick Taylor. He's a guy I'd probably want to roster in case something happened to Garendo, but I certainly wouldn't want to start him. Yeah. Wouldn't want to start him. Real Time he says wide receiver equals divas. Yeah, I remember just when I noticed this, it was like I somehow didn't think of it. When I was growing up, some of the best wide receivers were people like Lynn Swann. Or
you're too young for Lynn Swann. You weren't even born yet.
Actually, you know what? You're right. That is too young for me. I mean, that was in history.
I mean, Preston Pearson. I mean, you weren't even born. What are you talking about?
No,
you were a guy like Isaac.
Look at how much more I know about this.
Isaac Bruce was around.
Isaac Bruce he was much later. I mean, Isaac Bruce
was a kid. You saw.
I was in college when Isaac Bruce was around. I'm trying to think who it was. I mean, for me, the Browns receivers were Webster Slaughter and Reggie Langhorne.
That's a good one. Both good ones.
They weren't divas. So
how about Ozzie Newsome? Was he
the Wizard of Oz was towards the end of his career when I started really watching.
Okay, good. Okay, got him.
But yeah, I mean, I'm trying to remember who the wide receivers were from them, but I don't remember them being divas like this. It's just I don't know. Then all of a sudden it was just always that way. All right, Ross, let's talk about last week. Were there anything that jumped out at you going into the playoffs? Because of course that's the name of the game here is who are we going to start?
If you have Jamar Chase, congratulations. I mean, if you took Jamar Chase and you see my Bengals stuff behind me, I mean, he is a one-man wrecking crew. He's going to be one of the first picks in fantasy football next season. Him and Barkley, just flip a coin and pick who you want. But, I mean, he is winning people's leagues. He is doing unbelievable. And also Josh Allen, 3 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns passing, 3 rushing. Seriously?
Yeah,
6 touchdowns total.
I don't remember the last time that happened at all.
I mean, these guys are winning leagues on their own. I mean, this is unbelievable what's happening with the 1 or 2 players is making a huge difference. And then you got other players that are playing pretty good too.
Well, let me talk about some of the ones that may not be quite, not as expected. I mean, Jordan Addison to me is really coming on, very clearly. Obviously, it's it's easy to talk about a wide receiver who had 3 touchdowns and 133 yards with 8 receptions. Sure. But, he's a young talent. He plays next to Justin Jefferson. And to me, he's emerging as a beast of a wide receiver. I mean,
he won the Blidnikoff Award when he was at University of
right.
Pittsburgh.
This is not surprising.
The guy has a pedigree that's down, huge. It's not surprising, but the surprising thing is he's getting the ball more than Jefferson now.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you is, what are you anticipating heading into the playoffs? Would you rather, I know this may sound crazy, but would you rather have Justin Jefferson or Jordan Addison? I'd still rather have Justin Jefferson.
Well, I mean, both guys are taken in leagues. It's not going to have a choice, but if I had either one, I'll be very confident going into you start either one of them, obviously. But can you imagine if you stack both those guys? If we talk about stacking, and if you stacked like Addison and Jefferson, you pick them on your team. I mean, people have done it. I've done it. I think I have that stack in one of my leagues.
See, I don't even think of that as a stack, though. Don't you need the quarterback and the wide receiver?
I do like both. If you have like Hill and Waddle, I mean.
I think they take away from each other. The point of a stack is to make you have the maximum amount of points you can get.
It's also like insurance. Like, let's say, one guy has
insurance. Sure.
Week,
I just don't think of that as a stack.
When you take two key players from the same team and they're on your team, I call it a stack.
See, I only think if the quarterback's involved, and here's why: if there's a long bomb, you get the quarterback and the wide receiver points. And of course, this, Ross, but that's why it can make your team higher scoring. Real Time MV does point out, and I totally agree with this, Addison came in as a stud. Absolutely. But Jackson Smith-Njigba, he's another guy who came in as a stud, but now he's showing it.
Well, they're throwing the ball. There's a big difference. Lockett's like out of the offense. He's not even 2 catches. I mean, he's not. But
this is why you have to be patient, especially if you're in a keeper or dynasty league. You got to be patient with guys like Addison and Smith-Njigba because they will arrive. In all likelihood, they're going to get there. Let's talk about another Seahawk. What do you make of Zach Charbonnet? He had a great week. Is he going to be back?
I loved him this week. When I heard Kenneth Walker the third, I didn't say second. I said the third was not playing. I ran to the window to bet any overs I can get on Zach Charbonnet. I mean, I saw him play in college. He was great, and UCLA. But he proved like that he can play in this league and be a starter. I don't know what you do now if Walker's back. I mean, do they share handoffs? What do you trade Walker during the offseason? I mean, you have 2 really good running backs and you need help, and Seattle needs help at certain positions, especially, I would say on the offensive line. I mean, what do you do with those 2 great running backs?
I would trade Walker. I would trade him. And I would draft another running back to bring in behind Charbonnet and use that resource for something else.
Yeah, I like Charbonnet. I mean, he had over 100 yards rushing. He's a receiving running back. He catches the ball.
I mean, he's the full back. He can be a 3-down back very clearly. Okay, Joshua M says, "Hey fellas, do you do start sit advice?" We certainly do. We do all advice in relation to fantasy football. We even do some other. I mean, I'm a psychologist.
We'll do NBA Cup talk if you want. We'll talk about
anything you want.
We'll talk about the Knicks losing last night.
All right, Ross, don't get us too far off the rails. Well, listen, we will, but we don't want to get too far off the rails. People are here for fantasy football. So, Joshua, ask your question, start sit advice. We're all for it, okay? Going in, I want to ask you a question about, do you know about Bucky Irving's status this week? Because
questionable. Yeah. When it's questionable, we have to wait till Friday and see if he's practicing. That's the plan. So we'll wait till Friday and see if he's practicing. Tampa Bay is in LA. I love Baker Mayfield, as you know, and I know you like him too. He's playing in LA this weekend. I'm probably going to the game, which I'm excited about because I never seen Baker play in person. And it should be a fun game. I hate that stadium where the Rams play, not the Rams, but the Chargers play. It's the same place. And SoFi, it's horrible. It's horrible. Many, many reasons I hate the place. So don't get me started. I love Bucky Irving. I love White also. I mean, he's Arizona State
an ASU guy. Right.
Yeah.
My question though is, so, all right, Joshua brought up start sit advice. I have a start sit question for you, Ross. I have to decide between Rashad White and why am I blanking? And Aaron Jones on Minnesota, or Drake London. If you had to start two of those three, who do you start?
Okay, well, Drake London. Atlanta's a mess, so just throw Drake London. Atlanta's
You think I should
Falcons. I know. I think they're in first place still, but there's just a mess. I mean, Kirk Cousins looks horrible. They're not throwing the ball to London as much as they should be. I mean, it's just a mess. And White had, I think, in 2 weeks in a row he had touchdowns, and he had a good game last week because Irving got out of the game, and same thing's going to happen this week. Irving's going to get hurt, and White's going to play most of the game and have 100 yards total, or passing and rushing. I just don't trust anybody on the Atlanta Falcons, even Bijan Robinson. I don't trust. I don't trust any of those guys.
And not even Bijan.
Easy enough.
All right.
No, I mean, I know he had a good game last week, but I just, it's
okay.
Just,
so
it's
you're
just
telling me I should start Rashad White and Aaron Jones, not Drake London.
Definitely Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones is playing great. He's a touchdown every week too. I mean, he's been scoring also, and he catches the ball.
Yep.
In Minnesota, I mean, talking about Sam Darnold, talking about a turnaround in his career. Wow. I mean,
unbelievable.
This guy, I mean, you and I both didn't have him in the top 20 as quarterbacks.
No, but it shows you that certain organizations, you just know that they can't bring quarterbacks along. And the Browns are one of those organizations, of course.
And I was talking to a friend of mine today about Patrick Mahomes and how he's just horrible fantasy quarterback. I mean, he's a great quarterback to have on your team.
Sure.
But for fantasy purposes, he's horrible. And,
I mean, for fantasy purposes, he's like a good QB2.
And next year,
in a Super Bowl.
Remind me, don't take him in the top 20. Don't draft Patrick Mahomes in the top 8 rounds.
I mean, one of the reasons is that Tyreek Hill's not there and Travis Kelce's also declining. So, but it's really Tyreek. We thought that Tyreek leaving was going to really hurt Tyreek. It was actually the other way around.
Yeah.
For fantasy purposes.
I agree.
Okay, Joshua M has a question. He says, hell yeah, brothers. Trying to decide who to start on full PPR. I got to pick two. Debo, Demario Douglas, Gus Edwards, Xavier Worthy. Got to pick two. Can't say no to all of them, Ross.
I know. I'm not. Is this for this week or is it over? I guess for this week, correct?
This is this week. I mean, for me,
the
Debo
Chargers are playing at home against Tampa, and Tampa Bay's offense is horrible. So Gus Edwards is 1
in full PPR.
Gus Edwards is 1.
Okay, I could see it. I would go with Debo as the other.
I feel like I said beginning of the show, Debo's going to be involved in the offense today just because he was crying and whining all week. So Debo and Gus Edwards are mine too. Xavier Worthy, love him. Fastest guy on Kansas City, I think. I mean, unbelievable. Fastest 40 ever in history, I guess. But
I mean, I think
he's not getting the ball. I mean, he gets the ball 3-4 times a game. I mean, that's it.
I think the hope in Kansas City is that he can become probably Tyreek Hill light. I don't think.
And Demario Douglas, I love Drake May. I really do. I think Drake May is having a great rookie year, and I did not have faith in him in getting into the season. But Demario Douglas, he's just not the number one receiver. They have Butte, and they have a couple other guys that are getting the ball a little more than Douglas. So my two guys are Gus.
We got an update on this though. He actually left DK Metcalf out of the list on who he wanted to talk about. So I mean, to me, DK is the automatic start.
Yeah, DK's due for a big game. He's been quiet.
So if that's the case, you'd go DK and you would go Gus Edwards.
Gus Edwards.
I guess I would go Gus Edwards and DK also in that case.
Yeah, Debo. I don't have much faith, but I just have a feeling he'll have a good game tonight. So,
all right. So real time, if he had said Debo and Douglas, but let's see if he changed his mind. Yes, he says DK. And then he says,
"Who Seattle play? Who Seattle play this week? Seattle, they play at home against."
I'm checking that for you now.
It's a good game too. God, I forgot who it was.
Green Bay.
Yeah, that's
a Sunday night game against Green Bay.
Yeah, Sunday night. I love starting guys Sunday night. So yes, I would start DK. I think it's going to be an offensive display.
I mean, I think you have to start DK in that situation anyway. He's got the most
the
talent and the most share of the ball.
Yeah.
Okay, the Joker has joined us. Welcome, the Joker. Full PPR, Patrick Taylor Jr. tonight with the Guerrero situation, Braylon Allen or Jalen Warren. So yeah, we're talking about picking one.
Picking one. Oh, picking one. Okay.
Patrick Taylor, Braylon Allen.
Any news on Breece Hall? That decides my pick. If Breece Hall is playing, then I would probably play Jalen Warren. If
Look
he's
at
not
the Joker.
playing,
He's way ahead of you. Look at this. And Breece Hall did not practice again today. Just got a notification. Now it's still Thursday.
Yeah, I don't see him playing. The Jets are out of it. Why would they risk their big star running back to play on a game that means nothing to them? The Jets are horrible. They find ways to lose like they did last week against Miami. They're not a good team. They're horrible. Miami's not a good team either, so don't pretend they are either. But yes, I would start Braylon Allen. I would start just because he'll be getting a lot of handoffs and getting the ball out of the backfield.
And when do they play? Do they play before
the Monday night? Are they one of the great Monday night games that I have?
That's the thing. You don't want to wait on that. Hold on, let's check.
I have to watch like the horrible Monday night football games that they set up beginning of the year.
I know they think they're going to be good, and then they end up not being. I mean, listen, the
Jets.
They're
not playing Monday night. They're playing on
Sunday.
The Jets are playing Sunday at 10
a.m. at Jacksonville.
Yeah, and the Jacksonville's defense is top.
I also love that draw against Jacksonville. By the way, I'm gonna change something. I'm not huge into Gus Edwards over Debo. I would play Debo and DK.
There you go. He did it. He made the switch.
Let's see. You got to choose between those guys.
Tampa's defense. You feel that they're going to hold Gus Edwards? They're not going to hold Gus Edwards. Come on.
I don't know. He just seems underwhelming to me.
The defensive line is horrible. The defense for Tampa. That's the reason Baker Mayfield's having a great fantasy years, because they're always behind. He has to throw the ball every game.
All right, fair. I mean, I think it's kind of a coin toss between Debo and Gus, but go with your gut. Do not listen to us about that. We're here to offer the opinions, but if you have a gut instinct, go with it. I think Ross and I agree. Braylon Allen would be the pick for the Joker. If not, I would probably go Jalen Warren. It looks like Real Time AV agrees with that.
Pittsburgh's playing the Eagles. The Eagles defense have been looking a lot better every week. The Eagles,
they've rounded into form.
I know everybody's talking about Detroit in the NFC. The Eagles, to me, I think they can beat Detroit in the playoffs. How about that, Dr. Jan Ratner? People are just talking about, Coach of the Year, Dan Campbell, and all this stuff.
Let me just ask you this, though. You say that they can, but are you saying that you think they will? Because that's different. Are you calling them to do it? Because can they? Yeah, I think of course they can. I mean, these teams are all.
I see the Eagles. I see the Eagles will be in the Super Bowl. Yes. How about that? I'll predict that. Yes. I think Barkley with Barkley and McNabb. I was going to say Barkley and Hurts together.
With Randall Cunningham
and AJ Brown and Smith healthy again.
I mean, I think the Eagles playing well, they're the favorites over Detroit. If you ask me, I not only think
every idiot's talking about the Lions. I'm getting sick of it.
Well, I want the Lions to win. I
do too. I told them beginning of the season they were my team, and I still think they're good. I just think looking right now, watching the games, I just feel
I didn't choose them as my team because I wouldn't do that to anybody. Yeah, me choosing a team is dangerous.
Right. Yeah, mush. Yeah.
All right. Real Time AV said, "Don't trust Taylor," and then he was referencing Purdy. He doesn't.
We call him Brock Montana. We could call him Brock Montana.
Brock Montana.
Also. Brock Montana. Purdy is. I mean, for me, I think he's an average quarterback, but that's me talking. I don't think there's anything special about him. And I think without his weapons being hurt, I feel that the 49ers, I think the Rams are going to win the game. I know they're the underdogs, but I think the Rams are going to pull it out and win. They're playing good football, and they have too many weapons compared to the 49ers. I mean, how are they going to stop Puka and Kupp and Williams? How are they going to stop those three guys?
Yeah, I mean, the Rams are a little bit hard to figure out, though. They've got all these offensive weapons. It's just
if the Rams make the playoffs. If the Rams make the playoffs, I would be worried to play against them. I'll tell you that much. I would not want to play them in the playoffs.
No, I mean, they have a lot of weapons. They're dangerous. Joshua M says, "Don't feel too bad for me. My starting lineup in a 12-man is JD5, Kyron, Mixon, Jamar Chase, This is a good lineup. Nico,
Nico Collins, I love.
DK, and I guess Gus Bus. But after I adjusted to Debo, look what he said. Fuck it, Debo it is. So now Joshua's going to come after me if that goes wrong.
No, it's Thursday night.
Make sure you're following your gut.
I'm always happy when I can watch my player on national television. There's no other game on, and
it's fun. My gut instinct is Debo's going to have a good game.
Watch his press conference from Monday. I mean, or Sunday after the game Sunday. I think he was mad. I mean, he wanted the ball. He's not getting it, and he's dropping the ball. So I think he'll have a good game this week. I really do.
I think he's going to have a good game.
I say he gets a touchdown. How about that?
I agree with that. Okay, Real Time EV says they might shit Breece down. I don't know if he.
Shut him down. Shut him down. Shut
That's
him
right.
down.
We got an F-bomb and
he must type that word a lot on his.
That's funny. All right, Jonathan Santiago, good to see you here. Start one. Ladd McConkey, Calvin Ridley.
Hold on, go back to Ladd. Is he playing this week? That's my question.
I don't know. He missed last week, so let's see. I'm looking it up now. But let's say that he is, Ross.
Okay, so Ridley, who up and down the whole year. Keenan Allen's not 100%, so you got to start one.
Yeah, Ladd McConkey was a limited participant at practice on Wednesday. I don't know what he did today.
If Ladd is playing against Tampa Bay, who has horrible defense, especially in the DB position, I would start Ladd McConkey over those two other wide receivers.
I am in agreement with that. And this also highlights what I often say about rookie wide receivers. Not that we necessarily could have seen Ladd McConkey panning out this way. I was high on him, but you never know. But he has eclipsed. I mean, Ridley and Keenan Allen are they're wild cards. To me, you could get a big game. It's possible, but you also could get a real dud. And McConkey, if he's going, is going to be solid. To me, I think it's a no-brainer as long as he's starting, but just make sure that you got your lineups, the order of the play in your lineups right, because you don't want to get stuck with like somebody who's playing in a 4:25 game and you miss all your 1 o'clock games, you miss all your options. Yeah. Make sure you check, and especially in the playoffs, you've come this far. This happens to so many people. They come this far, and then there's some kind of lineup screw up like that, and they realize they're like, "Oh my God, I spent the whole season getting here, and look what happened." Let's get back to Breece. Do you think they're going to shut him down?
I
think they should.
Will, yeah. I think there's no point of having him go out there. I mean, he's been hurt up off and on the whole season. All they need is like.
But also, like, if you're the Jets, why would you start him? It would make no sense at all.
You do pay him to play football. I mean, he's under contract. I mean,
what I'm saying is I'm not. Listen, I'm all for saving players and protecting them, but what I'm saying is, like, from an asset standpoint, Breece Hall is your running back that you're paying.
I would shut him down. I think you're right. I don't think there's any point of making him play and foreseeing a serious injury. How about that?
I completely agree. Okay, Jonathan Santiago has another question. Thanks, guys. Also, if Walker starts, would you start him or McCormick? Let's see. Would like if Walker sits, so I can start Sharbs with no worries. Okay, so if Walker sits, start Charbonnet. We're totally with you on that, Jonathan. But if he starts, do you start Walker or McCormick? For me, you start Walker. If he's there,
if Walker is playing, he'll get his 15 to 20 carries. So yes,
agreed.
Start Walker.
Agreed. And just the talent level is that big. But so we're talking about Sincere McCormick, right?
Sincere, which was my favorite name of the week.
Love it. He
plays for the Raiders, and he was my cover guy, I think, on Tuesday.
On Tuesday, yes.
The Raiders are horrible. I mean, just so everybody knows, but somebody has to carry the ball, and Sincere is going to be the guy. But again, it's just the Raiders are just proving why Al Davis' son is probably the worst owner in the NFL. Just horrible, and the worst haircut too. Horrible haircut.
He does have an absolutely terrible haircut.
And he has a beautiful girlfriend too. I don't know. I guess it's his personality. That's how he got the girlfriend. Well,
I'm sure it has nothing to do
with hilarious.
His money or anything like
really?
that.
I had no idea. I thought she was attracted to.
He's very winning guy. All right, Ross, let's talk about this. On our cover, we talked about the studs that you're going to ride throughout the playoffs. I want to
Yeah.
talk about some of the let's call them surprises, but I'll put in quotes because a guy like Joe Mixon, for example, it's not a
Yeah.
surprise that he can play really well, but are you surprised he's playing at this level, scoring?
Yes. Yes.
Definitely. I mean, he's a
He's a guy.
28-year-old running back, and
Yeah.
you're a
Remember
Bengals fan.
last year? Yeah. I mean, last year he had like 2 huge games that defined his season. Remember, like he had like 4 touchdowns and 100-something yards, like for 2 games, and then after that it was nothing.
Right.
He's playing great in Houston. I mean, it's a great mix. I mean, CJ Stroud is having a below average year. He's not playing well, and Joe Mixon is really stepping it up. Hopefully Stroud will be back this week. They had a bye week. I think Stroud needed that. I think he'll be more healthy this week. I think we'll see a big game from him this week. So if you have him in fantasy, he's somebody that I would start over a lot of other quarterbacks. I just have a feeling he'll pop out and do something big this week. He's due.
Well, he's also got Nico Collins back for the 2nd straight week, and I think they'll be more in rhythm.
Yeah. So, and they had a bye week, so I think they needed the rest and needed to regroup. But yes, for playoffs, I mean, it's so important, like what quarterback you're starting, because if you start a quarterback that's not playing well and has a bad week, you're out of the playoffs. I mean, it's over.
100%.
Goodbye. So be careful who you start. That's all I got to say.
Real Time Movie says huge week for he changed this to Chuba Hubbard. He's not talking about Nick Chubb. So
I love Nick Chubb. Yeah,
I'll highlight the Chuba. So do you see a big
Carolina plays? I picked Carolina to win this week. They're playing. I have them winning because somebody has to win that game. They're playing the Cowboys.
Somebody in that game.
Yep. They're playing the Cowboys in Carolina. Cowboys defense is horrible. Chuba Hubbard just signed that big deal a couple weeks ago. He's going to have a big week this week for Chuba Hubbard. Huge.
Now I'm curious, Ross. Do you think that signing that big deal somehow helps him? Like, because I think
a guy like that, a guy that's been struggling like to get playing time and proving himself and playing on a bad team, and finally signs this 3-year deal worth millions of dollars. Yes,
he's gonna be pretty amped.
I think he's happy to be out there and go against the Cowboys, who are, after losing the Bengals last week, I think they just gave up. I think they just gave up. I think they're done.
Real Time Movie says gonna be huge. I don't want to know who that's referencing, but there are lots of people who say that actually. But here's my question: Joe Mixon, he is an absolute beast this year. How many running backs do you start ahead of Joe Mixon? Let's say you could only start one. Saquon, obviously. Derrick Henry,
2.
I would think yes. Now, is there anyone above him? There are people I would start above him, but it's close, really close. I don't know if I would start above. I mean, it's hard.
I like Gibbs. I
was going to say Jahmyr Gibbs. Yep.
I like Gibbs.
What about Bijan? You said you didn't trust anyone in Atlanta, but to what degree?
No, I don't know. Bijan, no. I think he's just hit the 1,000-yard mark recently. But I mean, no.
Bijan,
he hasn't scored touchdowns. He was really stepping it up the past few weeks. That looks great.
Bijan has 5 touchdowns. Oh, 4. Sorry. Go ahead.
Jacobs of Green Bay.
I was going to say,
he's a guy that can win your league if of course you're starting him, but he's been the past few weeks, he's been on fire. I mean, this guy is the offense for Green Bay. I mean, he's doing it. He's catching the ball. He's running the ball. He's everything.
I made a trade in Dynasty. It was actually centered around Justin Jefferson, but in the deal, I switched Joe Mixon for Josh Jacobs. And to me, they're pretty similar in terms of what they're going to do. Josh Jacobs might even have more upside, and he's younger. So I liked that part of the deal for sure. But Jacobs has been great.
I feel that we'll see CJ Stroud throw the ball more because they haven't been winning the way it's not working. They need to switch it up. They got to go back to last year with the throwing and passing for 300 yards because what they're doing now is not working. So I think during the bye week, they'll switch that apart. You know who else has been like a big underachiever that's been like 100 yards with receiving and rushing and scoring touchdowns is another Chase Brown of the Bengals. He's been money also. I mean, he's been playing great.
I mean, as you know, this sounds like I'm bragging. I guess I am, but I mean, Chase
Good.
Brown was one of my main sleepers,
I was going to give
and
you
everyone
credit.
was like, "Oh, he's just a guy," and I'm like, "It's the role, man." I mean, the Bengals running back with Zach Moss as and he's eclipsed even what I thought he could do, but he's looked really good.
Yeah, so I mentioned a couple guys that could start ahead of the, but I mean, Henry's going against the Giants this week. He should have like 200 yards rushing. I mean, he's going to destroy that team.
Yep.
The whole thing with Henry is they're not giving the ball that much compared to what they were beginning of the season. They're kind of saving him, I guess. He's not.
That's something you have to watch out for. Yep.
Yeah.
Real Tommy V says, "Love me some Chase Brown." I'm glad. I'm curious, Tommy V. Were you in like on the bandwagon from the beginning with Chase Brown? Or, is it just, of course, everybody loves him now because he's going crazy. I want to know how early you got on the bandwagon for that one. Okay, TS says pick 2 full PPR: Evans, Scary Terry, Connor, and Jackson Smith-Njigba. Wow.
Full PPR, huh?
These are some tough ones. I mean, I like all of these guys.
But we're talking about this week, right? So,
yep. Pick 2.
Okay, the Connor's playing against New England. I'm putting Connor in there as one, just because he catches the ball. He's been a big part of that offense, and I see him having a big week. So I'm taking him first. Tampa Bay is playing the Chargers. I don't love that matchup for Evans. Scary Terry is playing against the Saints in New Orleans.
Yeah, I mean, he's been really good lately, though.
And then JSN's playing against Green Bay and Seattle.
Ooh, that's tough.
I'll take Connor and I'll take Connor and I'll take Connor and Evans. Those are the two I'll take. I think those are the two safest. Scary Terry doesn't always get the ball every game in JSN. Green Bay has a pretty good defense, and I see that being.
Who's Connor playing against?
Connor's playing at home against the Phoenix is playing against New England. Yeah,
I think it's pretty hard to sit. It's pretty hard to sit Connor in that situation.
Okay, so that's one.
Listen,
I'll spin the wheel. Evans.
I think Connor and Evans are the safest of the picks, but it is hard to sit those guys. I feel for you, TS. That's not easy, but I'd probably go with those two. You got some really good depth there. Okay, Real Tommy V says about Chase Brown, I was all over him like white on rice from last year. Had him pegged. Good. You had him even before I did.
Yeah. Nice to hear that. I like them too. Work. Yep.
All right. Stephen Grease says, planning to sit AJ Brown this week.
No. What are you planning on AJ Brown?
Wait, let's hear him out. Let's see. Instead, starting Jamar Chase. Okay, well, all right.
Oh, really? Wow, He has Jamar
Ross,
Chase and AJ Brown.
Be nice to the audience. Come on.
Yeah, but he has 2 of the best receivers in the league. But keep going.
I mean, for me, Jamar Chase and AJ Brown, you never take out of the lineup. That's my feeling. But he's going to start Jamar Chase and Juwan Jennings, and McConkey and Rico Dowdle at flex instead. Thoughts? I think you got to play
take
AJ
out Rico
Brown.
Rico. I don't trust.
Really? I trust Rico pretty well now. Have you seen what he's been doing?
He had a big game on national television.
No, he's been having big games for a while now.
Okay, so you like Rico.
Well,
AJ Brown's been quiet. I get why you don't want to start him. I understand your pain. The Eagles are playing at home against who are they playing again? They have a big game. It's against Buffalo, right? Am I wrong?
I'll look that up, but I forgot.
No, Buffalo plays Detroit. Who's the Eagles? Oh, the Eagles are playing the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Here's the thing. It's hard for me to come all this way. You probably spent a very early draft pick on AJ Brown. Imagine sitting him and losing with him going off.
Yeah, I would. Okay, how about this theory? We take out McConkey and put AJ Brown there.
I think that's it's a much better play.
Okay.
McConkey he's coming off of injury too. A guy coming back from an injury, he could easily retweak something. Start AJ Brown, sit McConkey in that situation. That's what I would say. Okay, then Steven says, second question: should at least roll out Jennings tonight and decide on McConkey? What do you think about that? Let's go back to the flex situation.
Jennings has done like 10 targets a game. You got to start got to start Jennings tonight. Yes.
I think you don't worry about McConkey. You know, you could always start him over Rico Dowdle. I do agree with Ross that that's a viable play. I like Rico. He's performed well. Who is Dallas playing again?
Dallas is playing at
Carolina.
Carolina.
Right? Yeah, I mean, I like Rico in that spot more than McConkey coming back from injury. McConkey would be the guy I would sit in this situation.
Yeah, me too. But
AJ Brown, no way.
AJ Brown, you got to play. You want to kick yourself if AJ Brown has a big. And Pittsburgh has a good run defense. Their pass defense is not that great. They give up a lot of yards.
But listen,
passing.
Let's just say there are times where you are going to sit a guy like AJ Brown because he's really underperformed like all season, or he seems to be regressing, or he seems to be aging. This is not one of those times. No. AJ Brown is fine. You want to play him.
You want to play him against Pittsburgh because Pittsburgh is going to be. They'll be going after Barkley. They'll be making sure they're going to do their best to keep Barkley intact. That's what Tomlin does. He takes the best running backs and he shuts them down. He forces you to pass the ball, and that's going to be AJ Brown. It's going to have 100 yards and at least one touchdown.
Ross, let's talk about some more studs from the wide receiver side. Do you think of Jackson Smith-Njigba as one of those at this point?
He's not a super stud yet, but I watched him play a few times, and that guy can jump, and he's big. He's not a stud, no. Is he a good player? Yes. Will he be a stud eventually? Yes. Do I trust Geno Smith that much? Not really. But I do like him. He's somebody that, yes, I would draft next year. I drafted him this year, actually. I loved him when he played at Ohio State. I feel that he's an up and coming receiver, but he's not in the same class as some other ones that you may want to mention.
Yeah, although if he takes a step forward, he's going to get right into that class. But yes, I don't think he's there yet.
Not yet.
So who at wide receiver? What do you think of Tyreek Hill going into the playoffs? Is he a stud that you can ride, or what do you think?
You know, people are giving him a bad time. He had a pretty good game last week.
He had a great game last week.
Yeah,
14 targets,
Miami's
10
so
receptions.
Bad. Miami is just such a bad team. In Miami, they're playing away, aren't they? They're playing
at Houston.
They're playing at Houston. Defense stinks. They're a horrible defense.
I think Tyreek is going to have a big game there.
I do. I agree. I think Tyreek Hill will be a top 5 receiver this week.
So, and this is a place where matchups can really, really make a difference. Steven is weighing in on Rico. Rico has a juicy matchup, though. I agree. And I just think Ross and I agree. McConkey's the guy.
You got to start Rico, I guess. I hate the Cowboys. I love when they lose. I love watching Jerry Jones's face when they lose the game. It's my favorite. I just despise that team.
That's why they're America's team, because everybody likes to watch.
Yeah,
Jerry
America's
Jones
team
perform.
is. I'm afraid to say it. America's team's Detroit, so that's who everybody's rooting for.
Hey, I like that. By the way, let's talk about this. Marvin Harrison Jr. is. I guess it feels like I'm bragging again. I called that he was not going to be that good this season. What do you think now? I mean,
he has. He has once every 2 games he has a good game. You know what I mean? Like he'll be shut out maybe one game and then he'll come back and have 2 touchdowns. So.
Yeah,
he's not consistent. Kyrie, I blame the quarterback. He doesn't get him the ball enough. I watched some of the Cardinals games this year, and it's Kyrie Murray's just so inconsistent. And he's either throws the ball perfectly or he throws the ball horribly. There's no middle ground for him. And the Cardinals, I think they're still in first place, or they're close to it. So he's playing good football. It's just with the Cardinals, it's just not being consistent. So will Marvin Harrison Jr. be All-Pro someday? Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
on your fantasy team, that's a dynasty team. Yes.
Yeah, but he's got an amazing future. But
would I be worried to start him during the playoffs this week in fantasy? Yeah.
This is why I was saying, for all the people who were like, he's number 10 at wide receiver, I'm like, no, he's a rookie. He's going to end up in the 30s. And that was another one I got right.
Another on the spot. That's why you're writing that great book on fantasy football, and we're all excited to read it because you nail this stuff every season. You're like money.
We are starting to think about it. Yep. All right. Real Time AV says roll with Rico. Steven says thanks so much. I don't mind that. May keep AJ and take out McConkey from that list. Thanks so much. And talking me off the ledge. It is our pleasure, Steven. Then Real Time EV says Carolina is a run funnel. So I love that. That's a great expression, Tommy. Absolutely love that.
Run funnel.
I'm going to ask one more question. Oh, thank you for the tip, Joshua. We really appreciate it. Please come back. We're here for you every week. CeeDee Lamb, is he even remotely a stud anymore? With Dak out. I mean,
I don't know if you guys watched it. I mean, it's like he doesn't get the ball enough. He's totally checked out. He totally is. He's not even trying anymore. He really isn't. And he obviously wants to be traded or be out of there. I mean, I don't blame him.
Yep.
I mean, I think we'll see a lot of changes happening in Dallas during the offseason. CeeDee Lamb, I mean, I'm lucky enough. I did not draft him in any of my teams. I don't like drafting Cowboys.
I traded him even in a dynasty league. Once I saw Dak went down, I was like, let me cash in here.
But if he joined the Bengals tomorrow, I would like him. But again, having Cooper Rush as your quarterback isn't that great either. So,
okay, Real Time EV, I'm going to go straight to autocorrect. I know he meant CD, not feeder. He said he's getting the volume, not number, but high wide receiver too. I agree with that. But it's not what you draft. It's not what you drafted him for.
Yeah.
All right, Ross. Yep, Ross. We're going to wrap up here, but guys, we wish you luck in your playoffs. Please come here next week. We've got Tuesdays with Ross the Boss and Casey to do waiver wire, because you still have to be paying attention. There's lots of guys who are going to be floating out there on the wire.
Let me just preface that there are going to be injuries this weekend, folks, and you're going to be scrambling the big people.
Not only that, but think about it. There's going to be like 4 to 6 teams that are even paying attention, and hopefully your league lock the rosters so that teams are out of the playoffs aren't scooping up these players for no reason, because that's very annoying. So if you run a league, I suggest locking the rosters of eliminated teams. But you got to be paying attention. You also have to pay attention to like teams that cut somebody. I mean, if we're talking somebody off the ledge about AJ Brown, there can be guys who are going to be like going into the finals and be like, I don't even want to play AJ Brown this week, so I might as well cut him. It'll happen. These crazy things.
I'll tell you a quick story. Monday, I needed a tight end. My tight end got hurt. Will Daisy got hurt. So
Disley,
I needed
Disley.
So I went on the waiver wire list and see what tight ends are available. The first person that's available, Sam Laporta. And guess what I did?
Right.
I picked him up. Somebody dropped him and didn't feel that he was doing that well this year, and I picked him up for going against the Bills this week, and he should have a huge week. I mean, Sam Laporta is going to at least have a touchdown.
These are the kinds of things you need to pay attention
so I mean, that's an example. That's what you should be looking for.
Yep.
And just make sure you guys are healthy, and make sure your defense. I don't love defenses or anything, but make sure your team is not playing some powerhouse team
and look for a good matchup and play them at home. Play them at home.
Yeah.
All right, Ross, it's a great show, guys. Thanks for being here with us. We're here on Tuesdays, Casey and Ross. Tuesdays 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. Then all 3 of us should be back for the Thursday show, also 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. Ross, thanks for joining us here. And guys, good luck in the playoffs. We are looking forward to hearing how it all goes for you. Wishing you luck. Signing off.